So here's an interesting question that I think is interesting. What do hiring managers and or future employers don't want the interviewees to know?
There's a lot that goes on during an interview, and it's almost like walking into an interview and knowing they're not going to be genuine, almost like fake. It's almost like going to a car salesman at a dealership and like trying to negotiate the best price for your car type of deal. You know those people are throwing on an act, and it's like literally the same thing through an interview. And the car dealerships don't want you to know the actual price of the car. They don't want you to know how they are nice or how they're going to act. They're trying to pick up on things that you're giving off and trying to take advantage of you. Or I would say that, I mean, if you're a car salesman, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. Is trying to take advantage to get the best price out of you, right?
Yeah, and then, there you go. That's a great way to say it.
Right, and it's pretty much the same thing during an interview. They're investing in someone. Can we get the same price? So let me list off some things they don't want you to know. So I think a good one is that they don't want you to know, and probably a lot of people don't realize this, is that hiring managers and companies cyber stalk you. So we're in 2021, and you've got Instagram, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, and if you've got it all open to the public, they're going to know about you probably before you even walk in through the door. Or if they haven't done that yet and they think you gave a good interview and they give you interest, they're going to go afterwards and cyber stalk through all of your stuff to see what type of person you really are. So onto that topic, you could have a really bad profile online. That could get you away from being hired. So a little quick tip on that is if you do have, personal things you don't want hiring managers to know about, you can private your stuff in the time span of when you're being interviewed. So, or even when you start looking for jobs, throw your stuff on private, that way they don't look at that stuff. Or you want to beef it up and make it look nice, but I can't imagine that most of us have really corporate styled profiles that pertain that are all PC and there's no beers in it, and
no there's that Coachella concert picture on your gram. That's the hiding,
Yeah, I don't want to see that type of stuff. So be careful with that stuff. And I don't know if everyone thinks that if you walk into an interview that they ran through your entire Instagram. It's a little weird, right? So you would expect them not to, but they do, and some companies don't. But I can tell you what, I've been through multiple companies where we do a screening for a background check, and there's a whole section on social media. Be careful with that. Obviously, so another one is salary expectations. They're trying to get you for cheap, just like I said. And they don't want you to know what they're paying out. They're not going to tell you a range. They're going to lowball you so a big one is that they're always going to lowball you. So here's a good thing to know. Either the hiring manager or the person interviewing you or the HR person, whoever's contacting you about the salary, because it's obviously always going to come up, they're always going to try to lowball you. So a trick that they use is like, hey, how much do you want to get paid? And they throw the ball in your court. And we've had discussions about this earlier in our interviews here. The best thing you can do is throw it back at them and see where they're coming from, and try to not let them get the upper edge on that. So that way you can start from where their number is. But just so you know, they don't want you to know that number that they throw out is way lower than they're probably willing to hire you for. So whatever that is, and we've talked about this, you can highball that offer, right off the bat, and you could, we've had the conversation. The trick was between 3 and 5%. Go 10% and try to negotiate down to the point where you think they're coming from. So if you've watched this video today, you know how low it's probably below. It's probably around 5 to 10% below what they're actually willing to hire you for. Go up, try to negotiate. So that's something to watch out for. They don't want you to know. Only going to give you during the interview positive information. The best things about the company, why it's so good to work here. They're going to try to keep the bad reviews down. They're not going to be honest with you. Like, hey, what's the worst thing about working in this company? They're going to be like, well, the worst thing is that I have to go home at the end of the day. You know what I mean? They're going to say how much they love it. You're going to, and in your job, and we've had the conversations in these our interviews here on the video, is that you're trying to weed out what the actual bad things are. You're looking for signs that they're saying, like body language, the undertones of what they're saying. So check out an older video that we've done. But they're going to always try to be positive, and they're never going to be negative. So, and they actually hate their job, but they're not going to let you know that during the interview. You got to look for those signs and undertones and things that they say is this the job for me? Because, you know, when you're in an interview, that's one of the huge things you're looking out for, is say, is this a job for me? And obviously if it's a bad culture, or the company isn't good, or doesn't have career growth, or whatever it is, they're never going to let you know that in an interview. And they're only going to look out for the positive things. I've actually had an interview where I came in overqualified, and my hiring manager at the end of it had no idea what I was talking about, because it was above his head. And he goes, well, you sound like you're talking about all the right stuff. And I was like, oh man, he has no idea what I just said. So I was like, that was a weird thing. So, but the whole time he was shaking his head like, oh yeah, great, yeah, oh, that word, yep. Mm-hmm. And I'm like thinking he's following along with me. And at the end of it, I finally, it hit me, unfortunately, right at the end of the interview. I was like, oh, he has no idea what I'm saying. So I'm qualified for this job. So I'm going to try to at least try to get as much money as I can if it comes down to it. But yeah, those are things to look out for.
All right. I just got a couple oddball to add to it. And it probably will not happen during an interview, but if you're watching this video, be on the lookout for this. Some time ago, about 6 years ago, I had a potential employer ask me, Nate, if you were an animal, what animal would you be? And not knowing then, but now, hiring managers and recruiters are looking for ways to see you stumble. Any negativity they can nitpick to not hire you, because they want to, if they're being commissioned by the job or the employer, they want to select the best candidate for that employer for potential repeat business and referrals. So I just told them, hey, I'm a dog because I'm loyal and a hard worker. Dog, horse, eagle, if you're going for an executive position. This is what I know now. Eagles tend to see things from afar, see things from up high, and analyze the perspective that way. Eagle's a good animal to say if it's an executive role. You don't want to say something like I'm a snake, a rat, a sloth, or something like that where it indicates laziness. But dog, loyal, horse, hardworking, eagle's good for leadership. And then a friend of mine told me when I asked him this question before you and I spoke, yeah, I actually had a potential employer ask me, if you were an ice cream, what flavor would you be? But, you know, it was like, dude, that could come off as very risque. But he knew the job was like a multitasking requirement. So his answer was, I'm Neapolitan because I'm your everything. Got the job. And it's like, it's probably not going to be asked. But if they do, and you're watching this video, be ready, because they can ask you anything just to throw you off your game, because they also want to test out your cognitive process too. And if you give them that look like, bruh, like that's a effed up question, well, then they might look at you as this employee is not obedient, this employee is not teachable, this employee is not coachable, we don't want him, off of just a random off the wall question, you know?
But in general, they don't want you to know, but they are 100% looking at your body language, how you answer things. Do you fiddle with stuff? If you're fiddling with things, you might not be paying attention. If you're not making eye contact, if you're not taking notes, they don't think you're paying attention. Well, let me say that again. If you're not taking notes,
say that again because your camera's not paying attention.
If you're not taking notes, maybe you're not paying attention. Even your clothes. Are you dressed right? Do you have the wrong shoes on? Is your buttons undone? Is your tie not done right? All those things they're looking for. So they're looking for, you know, your appearance, your behavior. Behavior is huge because they're trying to figure out how's this person going to act in an environment of ours. You know, how you're thinking, how you're answering questions. These are all the things they're looking out for. And they're trying to test you because they're trying to wean out the best candidate. So who's good, who's bad, who's answering their stuff the way we want them to answer. So those are all the general tips that they definitely don't want you to know. But in the past videos we've had, you can come prepared. So if you've watched some of our videos, those are the things you need to go with to those interviews to really nail a company. But the best thing you can do is research the company. Go on LinkedIn. Who are these people? What are the things they like to do? You know, how can I kind of twist myself? Because they're not only are they acting like, hey, like they're being kind of fake, like a car salesman, but you have to respond in a way that they're gonna, you guys have to read each other. Unfortunately, it's the way it is and how interviews go. And there's some that are, a little more relaxed and they might say it up front, like this might be a relaxing interview, or they are going to be like, this is a rigorous interview process where you're going to go through 5 levels and you're going to see 5 different departments or whatever. And if you go into that, you got to have your high alerts on. If you're a dog, your ears are coming up, eyes wide open. That's a red flag, or maybe it's not, but you need to come and know what you're going to do, know how you're going to act in the situation so that they can read the best qualities that you have that you're really trying to sell. At the end of the day, you are selling yourself to them. They're trying to buy you. You know, it's, and the same thing on the other side. So that's what I got for that one.